monthly talk, or a talk every month in 2024, and we have quite a few planned, we have several planned, but this is your Heritage Society and we'd really like you to come up with ideas, something that you like, a talk, or even something that you would like to talk to us about, and you can pass that around to the community as well. Any topics of interest would be great. We have a Facebook page and we have a Facebook group, and we'd like you to join them. And you can see that Fiona does serious work all the time in the Facebook, and she's got lots of photographs. And we'd like more photographs, and we'd like you to interact like you have been on the photographs. It's been absolutely brilliant, and you can see all the names on these photographs tonight. I'd like to thank Fiona for all the work that she does all the time, and all of the photographs that she's got displayed around here. We hope you'll have a look at, if you haven't had a look at them already, at tea time. You know where Fiona is, and Fiona would like you to contact her at any time down in the parish office, and she's there for information. She might do a wee bit of research for you on your family history, but she also would like you to bring in some photographs or come and tell her some stories that would be useful for us in the group. I'm just seeing what else. The family history group, just want to remind you of that, is on a Tuesday night in St. Aidan's, and if you haven't started on that, but you're thinking of doing that in 2024, come along. We have quite a few experienced researchers who are there to help you. It's not a big deal, you don't need to be brilliant on computers or anything to get going on that, and we'll help you out there. I don't take a road, well, sometimes I do take a road, but you're welcome to come along and drop in any time just to get started. You don't have to come every week or anything. Just want to remind you that our family history, our Townland project, our field project, is still going ahead. So if you have any forms, or if you want to fill them in online or email them to us, or if you want to pick up any forms, you can get some from Fiona or from St. Aidan's as well. There's going to be more news about that in the coming weeks. We have lots of layers in the Townland project going on, and as I say, we're going to have something quite major coming up in the next few weeks as well, so keep an eye on the Facebook page for that. Our next talk is on the 19th of February, and it's going to be on the Mountain Road Pipe Band, so we'd like you welcome to that. I'd really like to thank Kenny for having us here today and providing the hall, and it's warm, and it's comfortable, and it's lovely, and to Debbie for all the work and hard work she's done in preparing the hall for tonight for us. I'm going to hand you over to Kenny now, because Kenny's gone into the history and heritage as well, and he's got a project as well, Leaves of Legacy, that he'd like to talk to us about this evening. So, thanks, Kenny.
Okay, first of all, a bit of housekeeping. For anybody who hasn't been in the school before, that's the first exit and the nearest one for the people at the back, and this is the second exit out and to the right, and if anything is to happen, or if there's any arguments, we could leave through either door by the end of the night, alright? The toilets are out here as well. The first on the left is the ladies' toilet, and the second on the left is the men's toilet. As Christina mentioned there, we're doing a fundraiser in the school at the minute. It's called Leaves of Legacy, okay? And the purpose of the fundraiser is to replenish, furnish, in some cases, the school with additional ICT equipment. We started it just before Christmas, and the first purchase is what's here on your left as you look at it, the new interactive panel for P1s. So what we hope to do is to, as we make our way to the fundraiser, is to work our way from P1 to P7, and then with a view to purchasing 16 additional laptops as well by the end of March. The interactive whiteboards in the school were put in 2005, so in anyone's language, they don't really owe us anything from a technological perspective, and they need to be changed, so that's why we're working on that. So all of the details around the fundraiser is on the sheets that were on your seat, but essentially what we're going to do is create a mural at the front of the school and put a leaf for each family that has been in any of the 4 schools in Derrylin over the last, 100, 200 years. We've got rule books as far back as 1880 in the last few weeks, so we won't go quite that far back, but if there's anything that anybody can do around supporting it, we'd really appreciate appreciate it. And the one thing that, just to bear in mind, if there is parents here, or you're talking to people in the community and people are saying, oh, you know, it's difficult times with families, etc. We don't want anybody in the school to purchase it. So we don't want to see families of kids in the school purchasing leaves. We'd rather that it was parents and their siblings and their parents and people who can break it down. So for example, the leaf is £120, and if you've got 6 in a family, that works out at £20 each. But if we're to do it for kids that are in the school, that's obviously £120 in families. So that's the logic behind that. So listen, I'm not going to keep you any longer, but if you do have an interest in finding out more, or you can see samples of it, or expressing an interest in purchasing a leaf, you can just scan the QR code on the bottom and somebody in the committee will get back to you in the coming weeks. Alright? Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Kenny. And when we get the information on the road books, come back up to family history and tell us what information you've got as well. Tonight, Peter Quinn is not with us, he's only able to make it, but Ciaran has stepped into his boots, big boots to fill, and he's going to start off this evening with our history of the Teemore Shamrocks. Thanks very much, Ciaran.
Evening, everybody. So as you know, when unfortunately Peter's not, he was hoping to attend tonight, but he's unfortunately not able to be with us. So I know he was very much looking forward to this and prepared an extensive talk for those present, and as usual it was very interesting and engaging as most of the talks is, so I think it's the fit. I suppose in that vein we've decided to approach things a little differently tonight. We're going to use some videos from our 2004 GAA ball, which marked 100 years of Teemore Shamrocks' existence. Now, these videos will detail the history of the area and how we have flourished and indeed struggled over periods of those years. They also remember those who were instrumental in our club, both in a playing, refereeing and administrative capacity over that long period of time. After that, I will take the history from 2005 up to the present day. So in Teemore, we would feel the contribution of our club to the growth and progress of the Gaelic Athletic Association of Fermanagh and for their field has been far greater than our population base would warrant. We've had major success over the years at both local and national level, and it's something we're very proud of. I will try and convey as much of that tonight as possible. The first video we will start with is related to the administrative history of our club, with notable figures such as the Clark brothers of Derrylin and Master Jim Dunn featuring heavily in these roles. These 3 men were county chairman last century and contributed massively to Teemore as well in all possible GAA roles. Our administrative history obviously crescendos with one of our members, Peter Quinn, achieving the honour of filling the highest office in the association, the scale, something we are immensely proud of as a club. Peter was marked out from a young age as an excellent administrator and communicator, and his acceptance speech after the 1969 Senior Championship final, which was given in Irish, further cemented the growing reputation he was building as a force to be reckoned with. He combined a razor-sharp intellect with visionary ideas and an ability to get things done to achieve what many others couldn't before or after him. One of his teammates described to me the other day that he didn't just accept winning on the football field as his last hurrah to the game. In Peter, we had a visionary who achieved recognition, initially as Ulster chairman in the 1980s, and then later at national level early in the 90s. You will see in this video Peter's thoughts on how club players should have a guaranteed regular flow of games during the season, despite the fixture schedule the county team is dealing with. This is in essence the split season that was brought in by the GAA 2 years ago, and again is something that marks out his visionary ideas, considering he said this over 30 years ago. However, despite all his achievements and a career that took him all over the world, Peter was always maintained his close ties with Teemore and the local GAA community. So I'd like to enjoy the video now.
Fermanagh County Board have been well served by Teemore men over the decades. Men who were leaders, men who lent their extreme talent, and usually much more than that, to enhance the advancement of Cumann Gael. In their late teens and early 20s, 6 Clark brothers played for the Shamrocks. P and Tommy both served as county chairman, with Tommy also a highly respected inter-county referee for over 2 decades. Later, from 1938 to 1942, Jim Dunn served as county chairman. Peter Quinn is another such man. Even at a very tender age, Peter Quinn was exceptionally well versed in the history of Teemore, the feats of its teams and the accomplishments of men like the Clarks and Master Dunn, to name but a few. Peter played his early football competitively at St Michael's College Enniskillen and also with the malleolated underage teams in South Fermanagh. He played his first senior game for Teemore in 1958 and won his first final with Teemore, the Junior Football Championship in 1959. Along with the Fitzpatrick brothers and Brian McCaffrey in the early 60s, he made a name for himself as a fast, skillful and very accurate forward, later to be joined by his equally talented younger brother, Sean. When Teemore won the New York Gold Cup and their 16th senior championship title in 1969, Peter Quinn was team captain, and at 25 was one of the most experienced outfield players on the team. On the day when cool heads were required, Teemore relinquished a 5-point lead to Irvinstown and went 1 point behind in the closing stages of the game. However, cometh the hour, cometh the man, as Peter Quinn stepped up with 2 late frees from an almost impossible distance to give Teemore a 1-point victory. Peter went on to win 3 more championships and 3 leagues in the early 70s. Throughout this period and later, he managed teams at all levels in the club until his ever-increasing commitments limited his involvement. In fact, the Quinn household was just 100 yards from the pitch. It was the focal point in this period for many of the club's activities. In 1970, at a Fermanagh County Convention in Kinawley, Peter Quinn was encouraged by county stalwarts Malachy Mahan and Jerry McGee to seek election for the position of Ulster Council Delegate, a contest he duly won. And to coin a phrase, the rest is history. In 1986, he was elected chairman to the Ulster Council and was already serving on many committees at Central Council. In 1990, he was elected to the highest office in our association, becoming the youngest ever both Thrawn Cumann class Gael. Peter's achievements have brought exceptional honour to the Teemore Club and County Fermanagh, and indeed the province of Ulster, whom he has served with distinction. The scenes at Peter's homecoming in Teemore on that memorable night were an expression of great joy and fulfilment to all in another proud chapter in the history of Teemore Shamrocks Football Club. During his presidency, Peter was a lucky charm for Ulster counties, the province supplying 3 different winners of the Sam Maguire Cup in each year of his presidency. Peter's other achievements during this term of office had nothing to do with luck. The magnificent facility that is now the Youth Grove Park is due largely to the progressive leadership, ability and enthusiasm of Peter Quinn.
I would like to see our whole structure of club games change, and I would want to see the games become more available to players in the sense that every player would be guaranteed something like 25 to 30 games a year. I think the average club player is entitled to
In recent years, Peter continues to be involved at national level, effecting the changes necessary to ensure that Common Blue Class Gael continues to flourish in the new century. Tonight at these centenary celebrations, we congratulate Peter Quinn on his achievements and thank him for the honour and glory he has brought to Teemore Shamrocks.
Is everybody okay with the sound? I just wanted to check. Sound okay at the back? Yeah. Right. So I know from talking to him many times as well that presenting Sam Maguire to 3 Ulster captains is something that brought Peter great satisfaction during his time as president, but I think as the Croke Park Stadium, as referenced there, that will be his lasting legacy to the GAA and to fellow Gaels. The people who elected Peter at the time knew it was a vote for a man who could and would realise their aspirations of a modern stadium to take the GAA into the next century. Croke Park's construction was delivered on time and on budget, something that can't be said for many other things in Dublin, in fairness, and it became and still is the envy of many other sports throughout Europe. All this led by a man from the Mountain Road in Teemore. It's also nice to see that Peter is still remembered for these achievements as well. As recently as last week in the Sunday World, yeah, that's correct, Pat Spillane praised his brilliance and vision when he said, "Peter Quinn stands head and shoulders above all other presidents in terms of his contribution. A brilliant thinker and innovator, he was primarily responsible for Croke Park's redevelopment." Pat closed with the question, when will the GAA have the next Peter Quinn? So as I said previously, it's with regret he can't be here tonight, but it's fitting that we recall his many achievements over his life in the GAA. So now we'll move on. So now we'll move on to our next video presentation we have which is a more general look back on our history up until 2004.
Colourful history of Teemore Shamrocks. To start at the beginning of football, tonight we present a brief snapshot of the colourful history of Teemore Shamrocks. To start at the beginning of football in the area, we look back at a period some 20 years prior to 1904. The first organised football team in the Teemore area were known as the Mitchells. They were formed in the late 1880s, but did not affiliate to the GAA, though RIC records and newspaper reports at the time recorded their existence and sometimes confused Teemore with Derrylin. The county board at the time was not formally constituted, and the Mitchells played their games as tournaments in the Fermanagh-Cavan border area. They were at their most organised in 1891, prior to the so-called Parnell split, after which all GAA activity in the area ceased. Some of those who played a prominent role were the McAloon brothers of Drummondymore, the Currys from Kinotra, and Master McManus of Teemore, who was one of the founder members. In 1892, the GAA and Fermanagh were a spent force, and the Mitchells suffered with the difficulty of controlling players and spectators and the influence of alcohol. After a number of false starts, the Fermanagh GAA County Board was established in 1904, and Teemore Shamrocks was registered with 3 other clubs: Enniskillen O'Neill's, Douglas Sons of Erin, and Ballymolech Art McMurrow's, and a county championship was established. The leading lights at the time in the club's history were the Clark brothers from Drummondymore, James McBride Drummondymore, Pat Cassidy Drumluck, and Felix Curry from Kinotra, the first team captain. This team won the inaugural championship in 1904, followed by similar success in 1905 and 1906. 4 years later, they commenced a remarkable sequence of 8 consecutive titles in a row between 1910 and 1917, with further success in 1924, 1926, and again in 1929. The 8 in a row was a record for senior football in Ulster, which stood until this year when Crossville Glen Rangers achieved a remarkable 9th consecutive title in Armagh. There were no organised championships in 1921, 1922 or 23. By 1929, the era often referred to as the Out Shamrocks was over. In the 1930s, one championship title was won in 1935 when the leading players were Master Dunn, the 2 John Rileys, Tom McManus, Barney Brady, Paddy Drum, Pat Donoghue, John James Curry and Frank McKiernan. In those years, the games were played all over the place. At Killymackin, Jim McBride's at Teemore, Umra, Knockatagal and separate fields owned by John Burke of Curtery. The 40s began with what was known as the Carrigallen team, which included half a dozen of men who came to work on farms in the years of compulsory tillage. Seamus Drum was a notable figure for Teemore and Fermanagh in this period. Much later, in 2002, Seamus's career was acknowledged when he was nominated to the Fermanagh County Board Hall of Fame. From the 40s onwards, the decline accelerated as emigration grew with a mass exodus to Belfast, England, Scotland and America. The late John James Curry often recalled how the team could not be selected until after second Mass on Sunday because no one knew who from the previous Sunday's team had emigrated during the week. During this period and into the 1950s, Teemore Shamrocks were a struggling club, playing often less than a dozen games a year. There was no senior team, no underage structure, and little or no organised practice arrangements. Indeed, in the early 1950s, Club Secretary Joe McGovern announced at a county convention that Teemore would not be fielding a team the following year. This might have happened only for the encouragement of people like Tommy Fee and Jerry McGee. The club could easily have gone out of existence, but for a small number of dedicated players like Jack Owens, James Cassidy and Sean Martin. Early in 1947, they reached a senior championship final, but were no match for opponents Lisnaskey Emmons, who were a talented team at the peak of their football excellence. In 1950, the club won the Junior Football League with a team made up of the McGoverns, the Owens, the Clarks and the Shannons from the New Line, with Hugh and John Francis Lee from Derrylin. However, the lack of players and the general low state of football prevailed until about 1959, when a junior championship title was won. That team was heavily dependent on families like the McGoverns, the Martins, the Colemans, and some new players like the Fitzpatricks, Peter Quinn and Brian McCaffrey. However, Teemore's outstanding player of that era was unquestionably their current honorary president, James Cassidy. At that time, he was Fermanagh's teeth tough and brilliant centre half-back and played in Fermanagh's first ever national success when they beat Kerry in the All-Ireland Junior Final in 1959. From then on, the club's fortunes gradually began to improve. This was mainly due to the creation of jobs within the community. Another factor at the time was the provision of an intermediate league, which contributed immensely to the development of football in the area. Meanwhile, a new curate, Father Desi O'Dowd, came to Teemore, and he took an active interest in the club and its activities. The team won the Intermediate League title in 1962 and 64, and a new confidence and a new self-belief was now established within the club. Teemore were playing senior football in the latter half of the 60s and reached the Senior League final in 1967, their first senior final appearance for 20 years. They lost narrowly to a Devonish team that had dominated football in Fermanagh for the previous 6 years. Then a new curate, Father John Maguire, a native of Crosserlough, County Cavan, was appointed to Teemore, and he played a significant part in the club's success that would follow. He arrived in the summer of 1969 and was instantly installed as manager of the young team.
Congrats to the lads. When they asked me to train the team, I made down two conditions: that it all turned out and that we train in the big field.
Fueled by the Fitzpatricks, the McCaffreys, the Quinns, the Rileys and the ageless James Cassidy, now between the posts, the Shamrocks, with Peter Quinn as captain, won the 1969 Senior Championship title after a barren 34-year gap. A new era of Shamrocks football glory had dawned. The early 70s also saw the emergence of a young Tempo team, and the ensuing tussles that took place between the two clubs is now the stuff of legend. Tempo won in 1970, Teemore did the league and championship double in 71, Tempo won the double again in 72 and 73, with Teemore champions in 74 and double winners again in 1975. A senior league title in 1977 and a junior league in 1978 were added, but the late 70s and early 80s saw some near misses at championship level. Then in 1983, a talented but ageing Teemore team, bearing many names from the 69 era, defied public opinion and overcame red-hot favourites Rosslea to capture their 20th and last senior championship title to date. The passing of that era was marked with a greater effort at all levels within the club to revitalise its fortunes. The old Mountain Road field, which was the brainchild of Master Jim Dunn and John J. Curry, was purchased in 1939 and served the club handsomely for over half a century. However, the grounds were restrictive and in 1991 were replaced with an 8-acre development which now boasts of 2 magnificent playing pitches, a covered spectator stand, floodlighting, changing rooms and a meeting room. Work at underage level was more organised in the 80s and 90s, with most of the club's success at this age level. The club has continued to improve and enhance underage structures since that time and has recently achieved the Sports Council Gold Star Award in recognition of the work completed and the facilities in place. Through the immense efforts of Declan Maguire, Joe Donnelly and all the staff at St Mary's Primary School, this was a period of unprecedented success in both football and camogie. For 3 consecutive years, St Mary's Primary School won the Fermanagh Mini Sevens, with children from the school performing on Ulster and All-Ireland final days. And the club later went on to win Fermanagh titles at all underage levels in Division 1, culminating in their first ever minor success in the year 2000. While Teemore had successful camogie teams in the past, notably the 70s, the sport had all but ceased. The contribution to camogie from St Mary's Primary School was mirroring that of football, with its revival being established in the late 80s. These years marked a period of unqualified success, total dominance within the county, as well as Ulster and national titles for the club. In 1994 and 1995, the club won national titles at Fela and the community games. In these years, the Fermanagh team, drawn almost exclusively from Teemore, won under 14 Ulster Championship titles against Down and Antrim, who were then the leading counties in the sport. In 1994 and again in 96, a team from St Aidan's, all but two coming from Teemore, reached the All-Ireland Secondary Schools final, losing both years to a Loughrea college in which the legendary Galway hurler, manager and now TV pundit Ciaran is principal. Unfortunately, falling numbers and a general lack of interest has seen the sport decline and almost disappear from the area. The 16 years following that last championship win of 1983 was a period of great change in the club. In 1984, the GAA was celebrating its centenary, and Teemore were the recipients of an award for the club that had made the most outstanding contribution to the GAA in County Fermanagh. In 1990, Teemore people enjoyed one of their proudest moments when local man Peter Quinn was elected to the highest position in the Gaelic Athletic Association, Uachtaráin Cumann Class Gael. In the period after 1983, most of the Teemore adult football teams played in Division 3 and later Division 2. However, the resurgence at youth level bore fruit for the senior team by the late 90s. A young and largely inexperienced team reached 2 championship finals at the turn of the century, only to be beaten by an exceptionally talented Enniskillen Gales team on both occasions. However, some compensation and hope of future success was gained in 2003 when Teemore won the Senior League title against the formidable Newtown Butler side. But the Senior Championship will always be the ultimate target. Friday, November the 26th, 2004 marked another glorious occasion in the history of Teemore Shamrocks when Barry Owens was recognised by the national sports media for his outstanding displays at fullback in Fermanagh's historic march to the All-Ireland semi-final. It is a richly deserved award for an affable young man who now joins an elite band of Gaelic sports stars. In many ways, it is a confirmation of his greatness many saw in the young boy even when he played primary school football. Teemore have won championship titles in 7 out of the previous 10 decades, and the present members quite rightly feel that future success is well within their grasp. But sacrifices will have to be made to achieve this ultimate goal. With less immigration and a stronger economy, there is no reason why its second century should be less successful than that of its past 100 years.
Everybody enjoyed the video, and there was a wealth of information in the last 12 minutes there, and I know we probably have triggered a lot of memories for a lot of people. So just so people know, our club book, which was written by Joey Cox and the late Hugh McGovern, covers all that in much more detail and is available tonight over here to my left, to your right there. So I don't know if Joey's here now as well, but he's another man that deserves mention. He's a local man with a serious wealth of knowledge, so it's always great to have something like that in the area. So before I would cover any more memorable moments after 2004, I'd first like to cover some of the other notable points about some people featured in the video we just watched that deserve special mention for their achievements and what it meant for our club. So we've always been very proudly represented by Fermanagh on the field, and have some very famous names down the years. And as alluded to there, one of our most famous is James Cassidy, a renowned figure in our club's history, having played for Teemore for many decades, and was also Fermanagh stalwart. He started his career with Teemore in 1946 at 16 years of age, and played through many lean years with Teemore until the major success started in 1969. He was never present for Fermanagh during his playing days, and was centre half back when they won the All-Ireland in 1959. And I know he was a great influence on the young Teemore players that were emerging in the late 60s, helping them on the road to success and giving them the benefit of his many years' experience. And I suppose it goes without saying that our most famous present era player is the two-time All-Star winner Barry Owens. He actually won another All-Star in 2016, 2 years after that video. So Barry first came to prominence outside of Fermanagh on winning St Michael's and McCrory teams in 1988 and 1999, after winning the minor championship with Teemore at the same time. But I suppose in Teemore we always felt we had something special. He was one of the top players in Ireland at his peak, and I think it's safe to say his performances in the noughties for Fermanagh would have garnered more All-Star awards had he been from a more prominent county, and had he not been unlucky with some prolonged injuries as well. So Barry was joined on that most famous Fermanagh team in recent times, 2004, by 4 other Teemore men as well, as we came agonisingly close to a senior final appearance, losing out to Mayo narrowly after a replay. Brady, Declan and Ciaran O'Reilly and Sean Curry were the other Teemore players on the panel, who were also joined by Mark Murphy of Derrylin. Our players also have a proud history of winning trophies with other teams they have played with down the years. On a national level, we have 3 Sigerson medals within the club, all won with Queen's University Belfast. Peter Quinn Jr. won one in 2000, while Sean O'Reilly won one in 1971 and his son Ciaran won it in 2007. And Ciaran also won the player of the tournament that year as well. We've had full All-Ireland successes in vocational schools. Sean Riley again winning the national title here in 1967, playing with Pat Maguire from the parish. His son Declan then won the same title at Fermanagh College in 1996, with Johnny McBride from Derrylin. So Sean was paving the way for his sons very well over the years, it's safe to say. Our current Fermanagh senior player, Ronan McCaffrey, also was on the Hogan Cup winning team with St Michael's in 2019. And then Jack Clark, of the renowned Clark family of Fermanagh Moore, mentioned in our first video, won 2 All-Irelands with Calvin actually, and winning one of them in the Polo Grounds in New York when working in that county after dedicating many years to GAA and Fermanagh. Now, a famous son of Teemore who also gained notoriety for his footballing achievements was Brendan Riley, known as Barney Townend. He won his first county title in 1969, then following it up with another 4 with Teemore, before moving to Navan O'Mahony's and winning a further 4 championships with them in the 80s and 90s, totaling 9 senior championship successes in total. He won county senior championships in 4 decades, which puts him in the same bracket as a legend such as Christy Ray, which in fairness is incredible company to keep. The video also referenced our camogie team at various stages down our history. In the 1990s, they were amongst the best in Ireland, and their achievements in winning Féile and community games multiple times must be noted. It's a shame it didn't continue to flourish, but as the saying goes, be glad that it happened and not sad that it's over. We are all still very proud of what the girls achieved around that time. Moving on to our recent history of the past 2 decades. The videos we just watched are from our Gala Ball, as I said, in 2004, where we celebrated 100 years of Teemore Shamrocks. As the video alluded to at that time, we felt we were very close to a breakthrough again at senior level. It unfortunately happened a year too late for our St Hilary Gala, but Teemore added another championship success in 2005, defeating Newton Butler in a close encounter in Brewster Park. We went on to play a further 3 finals in this period in 2007, 11 and 14, unfortunately losing them, leaving the consensus within our club that team underachieved, having played in 6 county senior titles and only winning 1. Nonetheless, that championship success win put Teemore out on its own on 21 wins as the most successful club in Fermanagh. We also won an intermediate title in 2012 as well, and again last year in a derby final, which brought the whole parish to life in anticipation beforehand. We hope that that win will be a springboard to future success for a relatively young Teemore team at present, and then what has been a lean spell for us in terms of championship success, despite the extensive work being carried out at underage level for many years now. For the hope that we are entering another potentially successful era is the current boom in numbers we are experiencing in our local school and underage structures. Not many years ago there were around 70 pupils in the local primary school. That number has risen now to 142 and is set to stabilise there for the next while. The girls team was very dominant in Fermanagh last year, and we have very strong sides coming through for the next few years in both boys and girls. Our successful underage spell in the 1990s started off in our local primary school, as referenced in the video, led by Master Joe Donnelly and Declan Maguire, and was further built upon by club coaches such as the Wallace brothers, Liam and Mickey, Blondie Sean Owens, the Riley brothers, Sean and Paddy, who all took numerous teams over this period. We have teachers in the school again with a deep interest in GAA, and this is helping our children improve, along with the many players from that 90s era involved in coaching in the club, led by our coaching officer, Micheál McCaffrey. Our strength in numbers at the minute has also arisen from the influx of many new families and surnames to the area, some with no previous connection to Teemore at all, and some from local families who have moved back to the area after the period away. We are a very welcoming community and love to see new families move in to add to the vibrancy and capacity of the area. and long may it continue. It should be noted that this population growth would not be possible if there wasn't well-paid employment in the area, and in this regard, I must pay tribute to the vision and entrepreneurial spirit of Sean Quinn. Sean industrialised this region over many decades and bucked the previous trend of emigration destroying the social fabric of the region by creating well-paid, secure jobs. Our previously forgotten border area became the envy of Ireland, with the money created staying locally and benefiting us all. The benefits for other businesses in the area, like services, hospitality, repairs and agriculture, has far exceeded what we can comprehend, and all our local football clubs in this area owe great gratitude to Sean for this. It's also important to note how important it is that these jobs have remained stable over the last number of years, and as a club we are grateful for this being the case and thank those involved for ensuring that has happened. One other very important thing that Sean Quinn did for the area was the construction of housing. We were always at a disadvantage in this regard with Teemore, as we never had any social housing built in our village. For many years there was no commercial construction carried out on anything other than a single build houses either, meaning families often had to locate elsewhere to get a home. And thankfully most continued to play with Teemore, but it still put us at a disadvantage compared to other areas. And then with reference to the boom in numbers again in the area, we feel we are at a point again where we need another influx of houses to keep the village growing and keep our children in the area for future years. Continuing to our recent history, we've had other notable successes and moments over the last 20 years. We organised a very successful TT100, where we cycled to Teemore in County Armagh and back again in 2013. It was marked at the time that there was people out cycling who would never have taken on that challenge without the club being involved. That has left a legacy for many in that regard and continues to do so. 7 years ago, we started the Fermanagh All-Stars event as something that would recognise the excellence of club players and administrators in Fermanagh. This event has mushroomed and is now part of the GAA calendar in Fermanagh, with both men's and ladies' teams being selected now. We carry out the event without fear or favour and feel that our ability to do so is testament to our continued administrative capacity and pride set in motion by many others years ago. We have plans for more developments at our club grounds, where we hope to bring our infrastructure up to 21st century standards with modern changing, playing and socialising facilities. We take the view that our grounds are there for our community to use and have them accessible to do so. All we ask in return is respect the use and those who maintain them. We are all aware of how inextricably linked Teemore and Derrylin are. It's referenced in the video there, there's players crossing over and we all know we're all very linked. And I suppose there's organisations that span across the parish to display this. Families have played for both clubs down the years, causing many interesting chats around the kitchen table. Children go to secondary school together and we share a parish priest. One other grouping is the Mountain Road Pipe Band, and I would have to mention their contribution to the club in the area tonight as well. The band has been very closely linked to Teemore Football Club down the years. They played before the 1969 final, with one band member, Peter McManus, tugged out as a player for the Shamrocks on the day, but carrying out his band duties all the same. They played before the 1983 final as well, much to the annoyance of some of us late people as legend goes. They were present in Teemore Hall the night Peter Quinn came home after being elected president of the GAA. Basically, when an important club event happens, the Mountain Road Pipe Band are usually there. There's a major crossover with families in both organisations, such as the Maguires of Garvery from Shemuk and Coromandel, the Drums and McDonalds of Garvery, the McCaffreys and McGovern's of Gortahurk, the Rileys of Mullalun, the Burks of Athial and Gortaree, the Donahues of Derrylin, Seamus Drum and the Currys, the Kiernans and McAdams and the Murrays of the Mountain Road, and of course the McManuses of Dermody who are synonymous with the band and heavily involved in Teemore Shamrocks. There has always been representation for Derrylin on the pipe band as well, and this support has ensured the band has survived and thrived over its history. For instance, Eamon Lennon was a great figurehead leading the band at many events over the years. I mentioned earlier our children going to secondary school together, and it goes without saying I have to mention the great achievement of St Aidan's last Friday, winning the McCormick Cup after 51 years of existence. Congratulations to all the school, the coaches and especially the players involved. And needless to say, we are very proud of our 8 representatives on the panel and to also have the joint captain of the team as well. We look forward to them players progressing with the club into adult football. We feel we're very lucky in Teemore that we've always had a tight band of committed people driving the club forward over its history, with support from the community flowing in behind that. All the previous club chairpersons who are still with us are active within the club in some capacity. As current chairperson, I'd like to pay thanks to them for their continued efforts at Teemore. Tommy McGovern, Sean O'Reilly, Peter Quinn, Benny Fitzpatrick, Seamus Owens, Bernard McManus, John Doherty and Tommy Clark. I lean on their experience heavily to navigate situations as best I can and continue to do so. And I do think it's not unusual, but it's a rarity that they continue to have chairpersons from many years ago actively involved, so it's a credit to those people. We have had some sad times in recent years as well. Losing our president, Hugh McGovern, in 2022 was a sad occasion. He contributed handsomely to the club over his lifetime and was very important during our lean years in the 40s and 50s, along with Sean Martin. And he also held strong views on the direction of the GAA should be moving socially. Last year we lost a great clubman in Ciaran McManus, which was a blow to the area. He was a great supporter of the Shamrocks and integral to the pipe band, and his loss will be felt for a long time. For those looking from the outside in, Teemore is a small, sleepy place. For those living in it, we know it's a vibrant, welcoming area. We are immensely proud of all we've achieved over the years. We are proud of being the most successful club in Fermanagh in terms of senior championships and all that our members have achieved. We are proud of having a former Luke and Luke Lascale as our president and will continue to push for success in the future. To bring our club right up to date, 2023 was our most successful year in many years. We fielded 3 teams at under 11.5 who all won their league divisions. We won the Division 2 under 13 league. Our under 15s got to a championship final and our under 17s won the league championship, coupled with our seniors winning the intermediate championship title. All teams are featured on the screen there. These teams are both filled with names from past eras and also with the new ones that have moved to the area. We feel we are in a great place as a club, and whilst we are very proud of all our history, we are ready to start making more in the coming years. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Ciaran. That was really enjoyable. The videos and your talk as well, very informative. That was lovely. Lots of new faces on the screen here tonight for us. We're going to have a break now. We're going to have some refreshments, and we invite you to come have a look at all the photographs that we have up on display here, and then we'll come back with the history of your conference. We look forward to that.
There,